Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy King, and this is If Loving You Was Wrong, Season 4, Episode 6, and the name of this episode is Fallen. This was somewhat of a filler episode, but I'm going to try my best not to make this a long review. But before I get started, let me offer my love and condolences to everyone that was affected by the tragedy in Las Vegas, as well as everyone that was affected by the hurricanes Harvey, Irma, Jose, and Maria. And if you can give any kind of relief whatsoever to everyone that was affected by these tragedies, please do so, because we definitely need to help out our fellow man in times of trouble. Now, let me begin with this review. The episode opens up, we got Randall, aka Psycho Betty, is sitting there with the paramedics. And they're pretty much trying to check him out, but he's being real smug, and, you know, she's trying to make sure that he didn't break anything. We see him walking, he's fine. She's like, okay, good, it just means, you know, you didn't break anything, you just got the wind knocked out of you. And yes, and I'm so glad that Brad did it, because Psycho Betty has been doing entirely too much this entire season, and I'm happy that Brad is that one person who's not going to take his BS. So, he kind of, but he's pretty much asking, like, where are the police? You know, because he called, because we saw after Brad pushed him down, this punk motherfucker called the police as well as the paramedics. So eventually, the paramedics told him that, look, if you are hurt, you definitely need to go to the hospital. But he's saying he's fine, he's good. So then the police show up, and it's Lucian and Stevens. He immediately goes in and starts talking shit to them, talking about some where are the real police and all of that. And they're asking him, like, well, and Lucian was asking, like, yo, what's going on? And he's like, well, nothing. I'll rather talk to the real police. Well, pretty much they were like, look, we are the police, and that's why we're here. We are trying to help the situation. And he pretty much said, you know, Brad pushed me off the ladder. And immediately Lucian was like, what did you do? Because Lucian knows how Psycho Betty is, and he's been seeing that he's been tripping the entire time, especially when he went to his house and told him to turn down that loud music. So he knows that Randall is that type of person that likes to pick at something and then gets mad when something happens to him, and he's that psychotic because he thinks he does no wrong. And he was saying, what do you mean? You know, and he's saying that, you know, yeah, you know, I didn't do anything. He just knocked me, and he knocked me 45 feet. And then, like, Lucian's like, so you mean you were on the roof? He was like, well, no, I was on my ladder. You know, he's like, well, if you fell 45 feet, you must have been on your roof. And I was like, Lucian is not here for Psycho Betty and her bullshit. So, just from that point on, he pretty much let Stevens know, I'm not going to deal with this crazy fool today, so won't you talk to him, Stevens, and I'm going to go talk to Brad. Then we see that he's getting real smug with, you know, with Stevens, because Stevens is asking him, you know, give me your information, like what really went down, and he's like, you know, I told you what happened. What are you, deaf? Y'all deaf? Like, look, I already told you what happened, so won't you get your pen and your pad and write it down? I'm like, you know what, Randall? You are not going to be happy that somebody put you in a coffin, because you are really asking for somebody to take you out. And you just see Stevens look like he really wanted to sock the living shit out of Randall, but he couldn't do it because he was on the clock. So then we see Brad, we see that Lucian goes to talk to Brad. And he pretty much asks Brad what happened. He said that, yeah, that son of a bitch is continuing to harass us, so I push his ass off the ladder. He's like, well, that's assault. You can go to jail for that. He's like, look, this son of a bitch keeps on messing with us. He done put up a floodlight, and then he also had a camera with a motion detector, you know, pointed towards our property. And pretty much he kind of was letting Lucian know that that's how he knew he knew how to harass Alex, because he knew every time she left the door. So he was saying that, look, he's doing too much, and I had to put a stop to it. But then like Lucian's like, look, I can arrest you for this because you did assault him. He's like, take me to jail. I'm willing to do it. I don't give a damn. I'm getting sick of him. I'm getting sick of his shit, and I handled it. But then he was like, but then Lucian was like, okay, so tell me, what happened? He's like, I knocked his ass off the ladder. He's like, because if you say that, I have to take you to jail. So what happened? And he was like, and then Brad was like, nothing. He fell. And he's like, okay. And then Brad was like, you're not going to take me to jail? No. He fell. I was like, okay, Lucian. I was feeling Lucian in the sense because he knows that Psycho Betty is full of crap and that he's always antagonizing something. So Lucian is Team Brad right now and was like, you know, we got this. So they come back and he pretty much lets Brad. He comes back with Brad, and Lucian pretty much lets him know that, look, you know, nothing happened. I mean, you said you just fell, and he's like, that son of a bitch is lying. He pushed me, and he's like, do you have any witnesses? Because it's your word against his. And if he's saying he didn't push you, he didn't push you. So then he starts talking all his trash like, oh, okay, so if you're not going to do your job, then I'm going to have to take the law in my own hands. And then Lucian let him know that would not be a wise thing to do. So then he's like, well, fine, I'm going to call my lawyer. And I'm like, you are such a little bitch, Randall. Like, you literally was the one who was doing all this crap, and then you get mad at somebody clapping back at you. If you don't want nobody clapping back at you, then you need to fall back and stop messing with people. And for some odd reason, Psycho Betty just can't get that. When she's in her zone, she only hears her own voice and she doesn't hear anybody else. So we saw all of that go down in that scene. So now he's on some real crap, and he now is like, okay, well, you know, you guys can go to hell. I'm gonna figure it out my own way. Then, after that happens, they begin to walk back, and then they see this gray truck pull up, and it's Eddie, and he is butt ball naked because we saw from the last episode, Esperanza shot up the house and shot Eddie up out of it. And she shot him out the house with no clothes on. So this fool is literally walking around butt naked. And Lucian went off. He's like, boy, fool, are you crazy? There are children in this neighborhood. And he's like, man, children seen ass before. And then he's going to look at Steven and is like, what the hell you looking at? And then Steven was like, not much. Like, because he was just doing the most. Because what ends up happening, Eddie pretty much goes in the house with Brad. And Brad gives him a set of clothes and everything. And then he's like, you know, what the hell you doing here, Brad? You mean to tell me you trying to work it out with this whore? And he's like, Eddie, stop it. He's like, look, if you out here messing around, you know, jumping on from one guy to the next, you know, you a hoe. You know, call a thing a thing. And, you know, and then Brad was like, look, just leave it alone. And he's like, so you gonna stay here with that beige baby, and then saying that, and you want to sit here and be with this woman when she jump on any black man and she's quick to fry some fried chicken? I was like, oh, you racist piece of crap! Like, you just really have no limits to what you say or do, Eddie. Like, really. And then like, you know, Brad was like, Eddie, don't be racist. He's like, man, shit, that ain't nothing. You should see my tweets. I'm always saying some crazy shit. And then next thing you know, we see so then he starts to ask Brad for a place to stay, and Brad was like, "You're not staying here, not here with the kids, or not here with Marcy, or not here with Alex, absolutely not." And he's like, "Man, come on, just tell him, like, just make it happen. Just tell him that Uncle Eddie's here." I'm like, boy, don't nobody even want you around. What the hell? And it just goes to show you that Eddie is just evil, and there's no limits to what he'll do. So Brad says that, you know, you're not staying here. So he asks Brad to borrow some money. Brad gives him his card, and he's like, you know, what's the limit on it? And Brad was like, it don't matter. Whatever you do with it, you're going to pay me my money back. He's like, oh, yeah, you know I'm good for it. Next thing you know, we see Alex shows up. Alex comes in there, and he's like, hey, Alex, how's it going? It's like, is that the baby? And then he went to go try to look at the baby, and she cold-cocked the crap out of him. Just real quick. Don't you ever come near my son. And also, if you ever pull a gun in my face, you better use it. And he's like, yeah, I would use it right now, but today just happens to be your lucky day. And he's like, oh yeah. So I'll see you later. Thanks for the help, Brad. Thanks for the clothes. And oh yeah, beige baby, I'll be seeing you again. And I'm like, oh, so pretty much the baby is still in danger because of Eddie. So I'm like, yo, Eddie is just like a straight up racist pig. And you know, both Alex and Brad were, you know, they definitely had that look of concern because they kind of realized that Eddie is probably going to try to do something to that kid. And that, yeah, y'all they need to protect that kid with all costs. Oh yes, and I'm actually gonna try into, yeah. So then we actually see that oh wait, okay. So then we see that Brad and Alex sit down and they talk, and she's asking like, why do you give him clothes? And she was saying that, look, you know, he was like, why was he here? And she said that, look, he needed some clothes, so I gave him a set of clothes. And he's like, you know, sorry that, you know, you had to see him up in here, you know, but, you know, I just wanted to help him out and got him out of here. So they started talking, and, you know, and pretty much Alex notices like, oh, so you have clothes here now? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, good. And then she also sees, so then she looks on the table and she sees, you know, the floodlight as well as the camera. And we also saw that Brad also mentioned this delusion that he had all of this set up against our house. So Alex asked, what is this stuff? And she pretty much said that, look, she said that this was the stuff that was over at Randall's house. Randall was putting up a floodlight to aim at our bedroom, and this camera has a motion detector, so he knew every time you were leaving the house, and that's why every time you left the house, he came out following you. So that was obvious, and he said that, look, so she was like, okay, how did you know all this? What happened? And he let her know. He let her know that he pushed Randall off the ladder, and she cracked up laughing. And I was like, yeah, that was funny though. And then she was saying, like, isn't this crap illegal? Then he was saying that, look, yeah, it should be, but obviously not. But then he was like, you know, I'm sorry about all of this, and she was like, yeah, and I'm sorry too. Because in all actuality, you were the reason why all of this is happening. You should have never been messing around with that fool. And then we see that the baby's crying and everything, and she has to go tend to the baby. But before she does, he asks her, so how did it go with Dr. Roston? And she was like, I'll be back. We'll talk about that later. You know, I'm not going to talk about that right now. Let me handle the baby. And I'm like, yeah, she's trying to dodge a bullet. But then we see that Brad definitely looks uneasy after that because he's wondering, yo, what the hell are you hiding now? Because even though he's back with Alex, I don't think he fully trusts Alex, and he shouldn't. So we saw that go on. Then we see Natalie and Kelly. Kelly's like really flipping out because she says her boss is not happy. She works for this conservative bank, and you know she's worried because her job is on the line. And all of a sudden, her phone rings, and she says hello like 3 times, and no one answers. So she hands up the phone, and Natalie asks, "Was that Travis?" And she said, "Yeah." So then the phone rings again. Natalie picks up the phone, was like, "Don't call here again, you sick mother." And then next thing you know, we're going to find out it was actually Ian. Ian was and I'm like, don't y'all actually look at the caller ID to know who's calling? I mean, that part was kind of weird. Like, how you just mistake that was not Travis. You didn't look at the caller ID to see who it was? Just saying. But it was Ian, and Ian was like telling Kelly that, you can go back to the house now, the police are done. They go back to the house. The police have completely turned everything upside down. And we see Kelly is just distraught because she's like, I cannot believe a man could do all of this to me. It's like, you fall in love with one man and all of a sudden he can just screw your life up. But then Kelly is trying to encourage her to like, look, you're going to get through this. Just keep your head up. And she's like, and like my job could be on the line. You know, that bank is conservative bank, and then due to the fact that I got arrested, I'm going to be in the paper. There's going to be front page news. You know, people are gonna know about this, and you know, I just can't believe that my whole life can be turned upside down all because of a man. And then she was like, I'm not going to let him do this. And then Nellie's like, what are you going to do? She's like, I don't know, but I'm not going to let him do this. So I was like, okay, Kelly, we like to see what you're going to do, girl, because you definitely need to do something, because Travis got a lot of people in his back pocket. So you trying to do it the legal way right now ain't working for you. But you should definitely look at other options, because she's to the point where she's over it, because especially now that he done got her son admitting to a murder he didn't commit. Yeah, I think Kelly ready to take him out. So we're gonna see what's gonna happen with that. Then we get a scene with Larry and Marcy. Marcy is still rushing him to try to get him to sign the papers quickly. And, you know, Larry was like, you know, this is going to take time, you know, to get everything set up. It could take a few months. She's like, no, I can't wait months. I need this done right now. And Larry asks her, like, why are you rushing this situation? What is going on? And she finally confessed that she's pregnant. And I knew the whole time, like, the reason why she was rushing it because we definitely saw you know, after she had that last run-in with Randall at the hospital, she immediately called Larry after that. And Larry has agreed to represent her in the divorce. So we see that go down. And she's really trying to get this divorce, you know, because she doesn't want Randall to have any entitlements to the baby. She wants sole custody, and she don't want Randall involved. And then Larry was like, well, don't you think you should tell him of what's going on? And she's like, no, I can't tell him, and I don't want to tell him. And due to the fact you're my lawyer, we have you know, confidentiality between us, so you're not going to repeat this, right? And he's like, no, I'm not going to say anything. But then I'm kind of thinking after what went down later in this episode, yeah, that motherfucker may start talking. But so pretty much they go back and forth, and he's like, okay, you know, I'll try to reach out to him today, try to invite him for drinks. I'm like, well, didn't he just deny you drinks the last time, and yet you're still trying to get him to come out and drink with you? Like, what's really going on? So pretty much Marcy's like, okay, you know, try to get this as soon as possible because I don't want him to know about the baby. I want sole custody. And like, you know, Larry was like, well, don't even bring up custody because if you don't know about the kid, there's no need to discuss custody at all. So she's like, yeah, you're right. So right now, you know I'm pregnant, but don't let him know about it, and let's keep it between us. So I'm like, okay. But it seems like Larry may be on some other stuff because we see later on he does call Randall. Randall is being real smug on the phone, talking crap, talking about something, don't call me and what you want, and you know, and then like well, actually what happened was that he was about to call Randall, but Randall called him because Randall wants him to be his lawyer and he wants to sue Brad for pushing him off the ladder. I'm like, bruh, you don't even have no one actually standing up on your behalf, so you might try to do a lawsuit, but the police report pretty much states that you failed. So at the end of the day, what representation are you going to have to take down Brad? And it's just like, in his mind, he thinks he's right, so he's going to try to get a lawyer to represent him, and he called Larry. And, you know, him and Larry go back and forth, and Larry talks about, you know, the divorce and all of that, and he's saying that, look, I just could make this easy. I just get you guys to settle. He's like, I don't want to settle, and I'm not signing anything. So if you're gonna talk about that, I'm not coming. But then he also told him that, look, if you don't come out, because he kept trying to ask him, you need to come out and turn up with me. You know, Sherry and the kids are out of town. We can actually hang out. You can come to my place, or I can come to yours. It doesn't matter, but we should kick it. We should kick it and, you know, have fun like we used to. And he was just so adamant about Randall going out with him. And I'm like, I'm kind of getting some fun boy cheese with this going on. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I was kind of getting, what kind of roommates were you two? Because, you know, they were roommates in college, and Larry was like, you know how I feel about the both of you, you know, because he's friends with Marcy as well. But then he's like, but you're my friend. You're not her friend. I'm like, man, sit your simple, childish ass down, you little punk. And then Larry was like, well, yeah, I knew you longer. I'm like, oh, hell. So now that you know this information about Marcy, are you going to be a dumbass and actually slip and tell it to Randall? Really? I mean, we don't know, but we're kind of getting this feeling that, yeah, something went down between him and Randall. I don't know what it is, but they were definitely giving me fun boy tease that they were, you know, jocks in college who used to get drunk and do whatever. So Larry was just adamant, like, look, I'm gonna be at Earl's at 7. Don't be late. You know, we can drink and we can catch up because it's been a while. And Randall's like, I'm not coming. And then all of a sudden he on the phone and he was like, yeah, he'll be there. And I'm like, what is going on? Really? Okay, yeah. I'm just like, okay, something up with that, and I don't even know what's going on, but as I said, sounds a little fun boy tease, like y'all was, you know, playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something. But I think in time we'll find that out, because I think in the next episode we actually see from next week that they actually do meet up. And the funny thing about it also, that Marcy and Larry was talking about how crazy and how much of an asshole Randall is. So it's like they both know he's crazy. So I'm like, you knew this fool had problems and yet you married him anyway? What, you thought you were going to change him? Delusional. So we actually saw that go on. We actually saw, too, that after Lucians and Stevens had a run-in with, after they finished dealing with Randall and Brad, and they also ran into Eddie, you know, being butt all naked. They got a call that there was a shooting at a house. We come to find out it's Esperanza's house. And tell me why the hell Esperanza's wearing that little skimpy outfit. I know you was at home, but you around men, and you should have put on a damn bathrobe to cover yourself up. So we know Esperanza is a little slut. So she pretty much got like this, you know, little top on, and she got on like these really, you know, tight negligees and everything. And I'm just like, ooh, okay, Esperanza, you definitely trying to serve kitty cat to the highest bidder. I ain't mad at you. So pretty much Lucian and Stevens go in because they immediately find out. And what happened was that a neighbor actually said that they heard gunshots and they saw a man running naked from the house. So they knew it was Esperanza. So they go in there, they talk to her, and Lucian is like, you know, you actually shot at him? And she was like, yeah, I shot at him. You know, I came home, this son of a bitch was in my shower. I wanted him to get the hell out of here, so that's what I did. I fired my gun and like, yeah, I made sure he got up out my house. And then like, Stevens is like, well, it's too bad because you missed him. So I was like, ooh. And then like, Lucian is letting her know, like, look, don't ever do this again, because, you know, we could take you to jail for this because you did this is assault and you could have killed him. And she's like, yeah, that was my plan. I wanted him to die. You know, I'm getting sick of him. Like, he's always, you know, coming in my house anytime he wants to. I want him out of my life. I want to move forward. And I thought you were going to help me to do that, but obviously not, because he's out. And, you know, Lucian is pretty much like, look, just don't shoot your gun again or whatever, and like, you know, just be cool and don't actually antagonize it no more than it already is. So then we see Lieutenant Stevens is like, oh, I can actually fix these holes in the house, you know. And then, you know, Lucian's kind of looking at him like, what? And then Lieutenant Stevens like, well, hey, we're here. We might as well help her. He's like, no, you can help her. I'm going on lunch, and I'll be back in an hour to pick you up. So next thing you know, he starts, you know, he takes off his jacket and he actually patches the holes up. And then all of a sudden, Marcy uses her blow dryer to kind of dry the caulking. So she gets up on the ladder. Tell me why the hell this fool had his hand on her ass the whole time. So we can definitely tell he was ready to put it on Esperanza. But then he wanted to go get the paint, and then he like bumps in, you know, behind Esperanza. I think he did that crap on purpose, because all of a sudden there's paint all over him. So she takes everything off, and he's hesitant about taking off his pants. But then she actually sees that he had a hard on, and she's like, oh, so I guess you and your friend are excited right now. And she's like, take off your pants, because she says, I'll wash your clothes, and you know, I'll get all that taken care of. And then she tells him to go take a shower. And then we see her looking at him in the shower. It's like Esperanza was ready. Like, she was so hot and bothered, she was ready to jump on Lieutenant Stevens. But then she was kind of playing them little girl games like, oh no, stop, don't touch me. I'm like, shut up. Just shut up and open your legs, because that's exactly what you want. You need to stop the bullshit. But we actually see that they both after he gets out the shower, they both talk, and they go back and forth, and they're kind of flirting with each other. It's like, you know, I think you hot. You come on, Esperanza, you're sexy. Like, why wouldn't I get turned on by you? And then like Esperanza's like, well, I think you hot too. I mean, I'm kind of shocked. I didn't know you had all of this, you know, going on under them suits. And she's like, you work out? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, and I can see that you do. She's like, yeah, but I don't work out as much as you. And he was like, well, it don't even matter, because you are stunning, man. You know, he just kept throwing the moves on him. And then you just see that he couldn't take his hand off her leg. And she kept saying, stop. You know, get your hand off me. Stop that. Stop. I'm like, Esperanza, he already knew that you was lusting after him. And hell, we even saw it. He was like, yeah, I saw that you was looking at me and shit. You know, I could see that you was trying to, you know, get at me. I could see that I was turning you on. Next thing you know, they get on top of on the countertop, and they are going in. She moaning and everything, and then the next thing you know, we see damn Eddie's at the door. And he sees everything. So I'm like, Eddie is keeping mad tabs on her ass. And we also come to find out this episode that he is on the deed, and he helps to pay the mortgage. So, boo-boo, you practically living in his house. So I'm like, if you really want to make Eddie go away, get out of that house and move somewhere else. Or take him off the deed. Completely. But yeah, but that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. And if I went too long, I do apologize. I was trying to get through this as fast as I could. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's going to get crazy, because we see that Eddie barges in and he begins to beat Steven's ass. So we're going to see that next week. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell to get notifications every time I drop a video. I've also started a GoFundMe. You can actually find that link in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I will be back with the next episode of If Loving You Is Wrong. So until then, everybody, take care.